So I just finished recording an SOP that goes into detail on how we write ads for our clients. And I was creating this for a copywriter on our team. So this video goes into detail on exactly the process that we use to write ads for clients with AI. So we've spent at least over $500,000 on paid ads for clients, and this is the exact process that we use to write these ads for them. So I'm sharing this with you in hope that you'll find value in it. You'll try to implement it. And if you run into any issues or any challenges using this process, you can always text me on Instagram and I'm more than happy to assist you. So we'll just get right into it and then we'll cut into a clip that just continues the video from when I started creating the SOP for the copywriter. I hope you find value in the video and cheers.
So, hello to you, and how are you doing today? I wanted to just make this quick video to show you how I use AI to write ads for clients. So I'm about to write Nosloy's ads, and first off, I create a new tab here, and I name it the date that I am writing the ads. I'm about to write a batch of 15 ads, and as you come here, you see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 3 different ad types when you come to the scalable ads writer. So 7 different types of ads, and then we now have the horizontal video ad. So I'm only going to focus on all these other ones for today. I'm not going to write these horizontal video ads just because we have one right now that hasn't been launched. So we're going to be writing new ones whenever we launch a batch of horizontal video ads. So do you understand? So just we're not just writing ads that are not going to get used. So once the client has launched a batch of horizontal ads, then we can now write more horizontal ads for them to launch again. So that's basically the idea behind this. So I'm only going to be focusing on scalable ads, which has 3 different ads with it, PS, story ads, and then direct ads and social proof ads. So the first thing I try to do here is AI is not very good at coming up with the angles and the arguments. So I ideally want to give AI a guideline, like an outline of the ad I am trying to write. I will upload the avatar sheet, which is this one, and then AI would now take this avatar sheet and write the ad for me. Then I can now make some final tweaks or final adjustments to it. So if you come to the guideline here, this gives you an idea of how to write direct ads and how to write social proof ads. So I like to refresh my memory on this and then look at the examples again, just so it's still fresh, right? Pretty much. And then I now go into the avatar sheet and like look for ideas. If I'm struggling to find ideas inside of the avatar sheet, I go and watch a webinar and try to pull ideas from that. And I have like an angles section here where I am basically always updating angles that stand out to me inside here. So sometimes I might have like angles here that I haven't tested and I can come and take angles from here. So the whole idea behind this, I want to have as much variety as possible when it comes to the angles. And there's always a game of trying to look for new and better angles. So obviously, there's going to be times where we have angles that are basically proven to work, and we're just using like the same angles but iterations of those angles. Those are always going to be constant, but it's a game of like looking for new angles as much as possible. So I always want to look for angles that I haven't used before. So I'm always trying to look for new, unique angles that I can test and that I can use, right? So I'm going to read through this now, and then I'm going to read through the examples. I want to write 3 direct ads, and then I want to write 3 social proof ads, and then I'm going to write 3 of the scalable ads. I'm going to have about 9 from there. So in total, that's going to be 15, and then I'll be done. You can also use PAS and story ads, but just for this example, I'm going to use 3 direct ads, 3 social proof ads, and then 9 ads from the scalable ads writer. So since this is the direct ad, I just gave it the angle I want to use. I want to focus on people who are looking to retire completely from nursing. That's basically the angle I want to use. And I basically just told it to continue. I just gave it like the first 3 lines and I told it to continue. It asked me a clarifying question because there are 3 types of ways you can present the offer in a direct ad. And it was basically telling me which of the 3 ways do I want to follow. And I told it what the 3 ways I want to follow is. I told it what the call to action should be. And it is going to write the ad for me right here. And then before I ask it to write any ad, if it's a webinar opt-in page we are sending them to, I always provide the copy of the webinar opt-in page, as you can see right here. And if it is a challenge sales page we are sending them to, I always provide that as well. So those are the two things we majorly send people to, either a webinar opt-in page or a challenge sales page or a VSL page. If it's a VSL page, so as well, we always provide the link to the page so it can have an idea of exactly what it is sending people to without any confusion. So let's look at the direct ad that he wrote. Because I already provided the detail, it is going to do a very good job, in my opinion, because even all of these are inside of the opt-in page already. So if you're a bedside nurse and you're ready to retire completely from bedside nursing, I've helped 13 plus nurses retire completely from the bedside and hundreds more go PRN, where they only work once a week. I'm hosting a free training where I'll break down. This is perfect, honestly. I can just copy this as my direct ad, clean it up a bit, remove all the AI language, and then I've written one ad that way. Let's go and edit this, put it in the doc, and then we'll come back and write the second direct ad. So this is how I label it inside of the doc. This is ad 3. So when you write anyone, it ad 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth. I always state the type of ad that it is. It's a direct ad, and I'm going to also state the angle here. Right? Angle or the niche within the niche you're targeting with the ad. So either it's an angle or it's a niche within the niche. Like for this one now, we're targeting people who want to completely retire from bedside nursing. That's the target. That's what we are trying to target in this one. So it's a niche within a niche. So I'm just going to add that here too as well for people looking to retire completely from bedside nursing. So that's the angle. And then we can now have the ads. I can clean this up properly so that there's no AI language. And then you always want to add the headline at the end, just like the way we have it here, right? And then that's pretty much it for the first ad. And then you always want to have this link thing to represent the call to action link. That's pretty much it. So next up, I'm going to write ad 2, and I'm just going to first go and look for the angle I want to use. And then I'm going to provide that to Claude, and then we can write the second ad. As I'm looking for ideas, other ideas that might not fit the current type of ad that I am writing comes to mind. So I always note them down in the angles section, right? I'm like, this one might work more for like the counterintuitive concept or like the educational ad or something else that is not a direct ad. So that's basically what I tend to do so that I can just keep having this archive of ideas every single time for clients, right? Yeah, so the direct ad, the angle I'm using here is nurses who love their patients and love nursing, but they are burnt out from bedside nursing. So they want to leave just because they are conflicted between those two worlds. Like, should I keep on doing this just because I love my patients, or should I find something else because I'm burnt out, right? So that's basically what we are trying to call out here. And I'm basically providing that context and my thought process to Claude. So I don't want to leave any of the thinking or deciding to Claude. I want to give it as much thinking as possible. So all he has to do is just execute my thought process. And then you see that you will spend a lot less time on the edits if you follow this approach. So I was going to add this to it, like just explain the fact that they are conflicted between staying for their patients and their passion for nursing or putting themselves first. But I felt like it would be two big ideas in one. So this can be a separate ad with a separate angle on it. So we're trying to like have ads that are just very specific as possible. Make one specific point from start to finish, just so that each ad speaks to one clear type of person. So the more narrow the ad can be without being too narrow. And when I mean without being too narrow, it means without going to a market that is not, should I say, not broad enough, without targeting a pain point that is not broad enough, right? The pain point you're using has to be a pain point that is big enough that 80% of the market is actually using that pain point. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you don't want a pain point that only 20% of the market is experiencing. So you want the ads to be very specific, but you also want the ads to be written in such a way that you can target a very large pain point within the pool. So I don't know if that makes sense, but you don't want to use pain points or desires that only about 20% of the market are experiencing. You want to use a pain point and desire that at least 80+% of the market is experiencing. So there's that as well. I'm just going to provide this to Claude right now, and then Claude would create the ad for me. So very simple, direct ad, nothing too crazy here. And you can see you love your patients, you love nursing, but the bedside is burning you out and you know you can't keep going like this forever. That is really good.
there are ways to generate income that still let you impact people's lives in the same capacity nursing does. I literally said this. You don't want to have like AI do any thinking for you, as little thinking as possible. You want to be the one to actually do the thinking, and then AI now creates the ad for you, pretty much. So there's that too as well. I'm just going to add this here. So one thing I always try to avoid when I'm making the edits is things like it, them, those kind of words that they're trying to call back something you've said before. And I always want to be as clear as possible. So I don't use like words like this as much as possible. I like to call back the same thing. So you can see here, good news. There are ways to generate income that still let you impact people's lives in the same capacity nursing does without the 12-hour shifts, the night rotations, and the burnouts that comes with them. Like, what is them here? It's not clear enough. So I'm going to say with bedside nursing. So I always want to call out the specific thing as much as possible just to avoid any complexities or anything like that. So that's exactly what I'm showing you in my upcoming free training. You walk away knowing how to use the skills you already have as a nurse. So AI has the tendency to over-explain. So you don't want to over-explain. As long as you've said enough to make the point, you basically want to move on. So it is over-explaining here, right? So I'm going to shorten this part, and then I think everything else is good to go. So sometimes when I struggle to structure the sentence in a way that is very clear, I just basically take it back to Claude and ask it to like make it clear for me. I'm just trying to zoom in my screen here because so you can see this clearly if you're watching this on a laptop or your phone. So I'm just going to take this back here and just say rewrite this excerpt. Yeah, so that's that for this direct ad. I'm now going to go and look for another angle, and then we would write the third direct ad as well. So some of the things that used to go through my mind when I'm looking for ideas is not using angles that will appeal to the wrong type of person, right? So that's one of the things I always look out for. Like this idea, for example, she's never invested in herself before, never had a coach or mentor. I don't want to necessarily use something like this in my ad because this is going to appeal to the wrong type of person. It's going to call out to a wrong demographic of people who have not invested in themselves before. And ideally, you want to have people who have spent money on trying to solve the problem. They are the ones who are likely to spend more money on solving the problem. You don't want people who have never spent any amount of money on the problem before. So I'm thinking of flipping this into you've spent money on trying to leave the bedside, but nothing has worked. Let me come and show you how to actually do it inside of my free training. So that's the angle I'm going to use and flip this on its head to create an angle where it is basically you've spent money on different ways to leave the bedside pretty much and nothing has worked. So let me come and show you the true way to do it. And that might not really work for a direct ad just because I might need to explain why those other methods haven't worked for you before. So I'm going to just save that angle in my notes and then I'll look for another thing I can use for a direct ad. You can see how like this process is just like if you're looking at your avatar sheets, ideas will just be coming pretty much as you're doing this. And then you're just getting more ideas from other ideas, from other ideas, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so this is the angle I want to use. I want to tackle the travel nurses here who are negotiating like better prices, who are like making money, but they still feel broke because they barely have time for themselves. So I want to tackle the travel nurses in this ad, and this is the angle that I'm going to use. So for direct ads, the two things is the call out and then the offer. And then you want the offer to be related to the call out. I basically just give Claude the call out and I give Claude the offer that is linked to the call out. And then it writes the rest for me just based on the framework that we have. So I am going to write this now and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. Yeah, so it has written the first draft. And I'm just going to make edits to this so it doesn't have any AI signs inside of it, right? So you can see it did the same thing here again, like IT. It uses it here. And what does it mean? Like, so I'm going to specify without the stress that comes with travel and nursing. So just so it's as clear as possible. So you can see here that although I tell it to use one angle per ad, it still uses two angles. Like if there's two call outs in this ad now, for example. So the first call out is travel nurse going from city to city, chasing the bag, negotiating better contracts, but still feel broke because you barely have time for yourself. Then it comes again and says, this is for the nurse who looks good on paper. Everyone calls you big money. Everyone's proud of you, but you know the reality is completely different. This is a different call out, right? Yes, these pain points here
resonates with this. So I'm going to use this pinpoint, but this is a different call out entirely. So I'm just going to take this out and go and add it to my angles section. Just because it's a different person entirely. You want to be very narrow on like just one specific person, one specific idea, one specific concept per ad that you have, right? So that's that. Yeah, this is a very simple, straight to the point direct ad and it's very focused on like just the ICP, the niche within the niche that we want this ad to be focused on. So the next one is the social proof ad. Before I start this one, I am going to quickly read through the guidelines and the examples just to refresh my brain on like how this actually works. And then we are going to write some social proof ads. Again, you're going to basically give Claude the thought process behind this, the thinking behind this, and then to execute. And then you make minor edits and then you're good. So in like 15 minutes, you can basically write one ad and then you're going to the next one and the next one and so on and so forth. The social proof ad is basically a direct ad that starts with a social proof. So one very easy way to write a social proof ad is just start the ad with social proof and just copy and paste the same direct ad that you have here and have social proof start the ad and then go into this. So although we like to have like a good variety of angles, whenever you find a direct ad that works, one way you can reuse it is just to put social proof at the top and then just copy and paste the same thing that you have for direct ad, just right underneath it, but it starts with a social proof instead. I am going to go into our archive of case studies that we have for this client. And then I'm going to go through the case studies and see if I can find any case study that resonates with a particular angle that I can use. And then I now give Claude the social proof I want to use, tell it what the angle is, and then tell it how I want it to structure the offer. And then Claude can now write it and I can go and edit it. So Lois case study agent, yeah, here we go. So we have like a ton of case studies here for this client. Like we have like about 30 pages worth of case studies here. So I'm going to do this pretty much. I already have one idea just from scrolling aggressively like this. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have. So it has written the ad. I basically provided the social proof, right? And I told it to keep it vague because this social proof was very detailed. It was an actual email we've sent before. So I didn't want to get into like the story of how it happened and so on and so forth. So we didn't want to do any of that. And I told it the angle that we want to use. And then it wrote the ad. So it's pretty simple. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to go and write it and edit it. So if you want to see the difference between the AI version and the final draft that I wrote, you can just pause the video here, read through this, and then read through the final draft. Because the final draft is always very different from what the AI should write. It's always a lot more clear, a lot simpler to understand. There's no AI jargon and so on and so forth. So if you want to see how that works, read the version that AI wrote and then come back and check out this one. So let's write the next social proof ad now. Whenever I use like social proof ads, if I have the screenshots, I always add it to the ad just so if the video editors are making any edits to the ad or anything, they can easily know what the screenshot is and where it came from. So I'm just going to add this here as well. And I have also found the ad I want to use for the next one. I want to use this one about how she gets commissions like this coming in every week. I'm just going to put the picture of this as well. And then I'm going to write the ad pretty much. And don't forget to add like link so that the media buyers know to insert the link inside of the ad. Yeah, so I found a social proof of someone who handed in their resignation letter, and I think that's really cool. So I'm just going to use this proof and then pair it with this ad here. Yeah, this one here, right? So I'm just going to use it and pair it with this one here. I'm going to use the angle for people looking to retire from bedside nursing entirely. So when you find social proof like screenshots that rhyme specifically with an angle, it's a no-brainer to just pair them together for a social proof ad. So that's literally what I'm going to do for ad number 6. So that brings the end to our direct ad and our social proof ads. So next up is the scalable ads. So these direct ads, they focus on the top 3% of the market that is ready to take action like right now. But the scalable ads, you want to overcome objections, you want to overcome beliefs, you want to educate them and tap into people who are not ready to buy now, but they have the intention of buying down the line, or they have the intent to buy. They have the problem, they are shopping around, looking for solutions, comparing solutions, and so on and so forth. So, assuming I was selling a product directly, this ads will be more specific to the type of product we are selling. We'll target a much more solution-aware audience and to be specific to these problems the product itself is solving and against the other options that are available in the marketplace and so on and so forth. But because it's a webinar ad, it has to be much more broad and much more vague and much more filled with curiosity, because when it comes to webinar ads, broad curiosity is where you want to be. You don't want to tell them exactly what it is that you're going to be teaching them. You want to keep it as curiosity driven, focus on the outcome as much as possible, because once they have any idea, oh, it is this, they are going to not want to join or sign up for the webinar. So webinar ads are very, very different from selling a challenge ticket, for example, or something along those lines. So you have to keep that in mind, that when you're selling a challenge ticket, you need to be very specific around the problems that the product itself is solving, what the challenge is solving. Those are the kind of ads you want to run, ads that actually target those problems, especially in your direct ads, especially in your social proof ads, and also in the scalable ads. So there are three types of scalable ads. There is educational ads, there is counterintuitive ads, and then there is unique mechanism ads. So we're going to write three for each of these, and Scalable Ads Writer has everything you need. So it has the guidelines, it has the unique mechanisms, examples, education ad examples, the different ad types is also listed out here, plus the framework for each of them. These ads are very similar. They just have like slight differences in how they are structured. And the guideline is also here for you as well. So I like to go through this once just to keep my mind fresh on the concepts before I now go and source for my ideas and before I write the actual ad itself. So I'm going to write the counterintuitive ad. I'm going to write all three of them. I'll come back and do an overview. The education ads, I'm going to write that as well, come back and do an overview. And then I'm also going to write the unique mechanism ads and then come back again and do an overview. So if you're looking for where to get ideas for these ads, for the unique mechanism ads, you want to come to this section here. So inside of the avatar sheet is a section where we talk about unique mechanism. So this one right here. So this is where you want to get your ideas from, your unique mechanism ad. For your counterintuitive ad, you can see here we have what industry problems or practices do you stand against. You can also use this as well for your unique mechanism ad. Right. There's what separates you from your competition. This can also be used as like your unique mechanism ad. So you can get ad ideas from what you already have here, right? And then if you go all the way up, what mistakes is your perfect client making right now? You can use this for your education ads and for your counterintuitive ads. And what are they doing in their day-to-day that is wasting their time? Again, you can use this as well in your education ads and your counterintuitive ads. So you can see these questions are framed so that we can easily come here and take the angles that we need to create the ads for ourselves. So that's basically it. I'm going to go and write the counterintuitive ad right now, and I'm going to do a walkthrough once I've written all three ads. So I have created my outline for the three ads I want to write. These are going to be concept ads, and concept ads are basically ads that use like a counterintuitive concept, something that will grab their attention. Then you mention a pain or problem. You explain why they're experiencing that pain, the unique mechanism behind why they're experiencing the pain. You explain your solution, and then you send them to the call to action. So I've basically given the outline of what pain I want to use, the explanation behind my pain and my solution. Same thing with this one as well, the concept I want to use, the pain, the explanation, the solution, and I have that all written out already. So if I put this into Claude right now, it would know exactly how to do this and how to achieve the goal that I wanted to achieve, which is to write these concept ads for me. If you just give it the pain, it would use like the dumbest possible explanation you can find, something that doesn't even make any sense. And if you're not careful, you would use that like that in your ads, and you have very shitty ads pretty much. So you ideally want to have the outline like this following the framework, and then Claude can just take it from there So I am going to use these. I'll go and write the ads and then I'll come back and show you what the final result looks like. When I edit an ad, one thing I also do is send Claude the final draft back, right? And then ask it to learn about my tone, my format, my style, and voice, right? So that the next one is going to write will be more aligned with what I'm actually looking for, and then to become easier and easier and easier to edit it. So especially for these longer form ads, because I spent quite a lot of time editing this, so these makes it more likely that Claude would write the ads in a way where it is more in alignment with how we want to write ads. So I'm going to go to the second concept ad right now, and I'm basically just going to paste in the ad. So as you can see here, I have the concept, the pain, the explanation, the solution, and that's pretty much it. So these are the final drafts of the concept ads, and you can see them here. I've made them shorter because these ads don't have to be long, so you don't have to over explain. Just have to give them enough info to be interested enough to click the link, and then you're good to go. So for these concept ads, education ads, direct ads, social proof ads, even the problem agitation solution ads, one page is usually enough, and maximum one page and just a little bit more is usually enough here, because you don't want to go overboard with this because it's an ad. If you're writing a story ad now, for example, that one you can make it very, very long. But for these ones, just one page is enough to pass the information across, and then you're good to go pretty much. So it's time for the education ads. I'm going to go to the avatar sheet for some more ideas, and then we will just go from there. Yeah, so this is the educational ads, and it's very similar to the concept ads. It's the exact same concept. It's just these ones usually start with a counterintuitive statement, and this education ad starts with a problem. So I'm going to stop here just because I have enough for this client for today. So if you have any clarifying questions, you can let me know. But basically what you need to do now is try to write your own batch of 12 to 15 ads as well, and go through the projects that we have, go through the previous conversations that I've had here too as well. It might give you an idea of how to better approach this. Read through the instructions here on how to write these individual ads, go through the examples, and then you want to write ads and vary them across the different types of ads. So the scalable ads, which has 3 ads inside of them, the PAS ads, that's problem agitation solution, and the story ads. These ones are kind of unique, so maybe I'll make a different video going into how these ones work, and then the direct and social proof ads as well. So if you have any questions, like I said, you can let me know. And yeah, thank you so much, and cheers.